Sannyas, you have to sit here. You're the editor. You see, what I'm going to speak about tonight is not like a developed, specific, specialized branch of knowledge. We're going to be talking about establishing society. Now, this will naturally spill over till tomorrow's theme, which is the theme of self-actualization. So you cannot avoid duplicating themes. You cannot avoid duplicating topics. But today they'll be seen in one way, and tomorrow they'll be seen in another way, although everything basically has a similarity to it. So I just thought I'd say that first, so that in case you also come tomorrow, you won't be disappointed. Or maybe you will be disappointed. That's another thing. Depends on me, depends on you. I'd also like to say that this seminar is not a practiced thing, and it's not rehearsed. It's not been gone over and tested, and so we're all kind of like in an experiment together, which is also fun. Now, when you speak of society, you're speaking of something which does not have a concrete nature. It's not something that you can quantify and put on a shelf somewhere and analyze through a microscope or chemically test. It's not like a product. It's a very metaphysical kind of a thing. Its quality depends basically on how people feel in the society. When we talk about society, we talk about a group of people. And obviously, the most important thing in any society is the people. If you say, can you get rid of that hum? Something's humming. It's just... in any society... Is this me? Is it me? No? In any society, sometimes people who maybe view the society or who are even within it see it in terms of its external accomplishments. And therefore, you will find in different empires, like, because we're specifically talking here about an empire as differentiated from some culture. Because, for example, you may go to the Samoan Islands in the South Pacific, and it's a very wonderful society. Everybody's very happy in it. But they don't have anything externally very spectacular, which the outside world may be interested in. Whereas You can even take the example of the Tsarist Russia. Tsarist Russia, the Russia with the Tsars, or the Roman Empire, the British Empire, or any empire which, the Greek empires, even civilizations in Egypt, or the Incas or Mayas in South America, they always are, even Hitler did this, but he didn't get very far. You try to make very grand passageways and streets, grand buildings, which may or may not have a very important function. Large structures, very magnificent. This is a common feature in those who are engaged in empire building. Now, one can examine psychologically why that happens. I'm sure there have been many books written on the subject, but there's two ways of looking at it. From the point of view of the people who do it, the idea is to give a feeling of pride to the people, to give them a feeling that they are engaged in something great, that they are therefore great because they are part of something great. And that gives them a feeling of security. That's from the point of view of certain persons who want to create such a thing. They think it has some social value. But from another point of view, a psychological point of view, which is not dependent on the builders of such a society, there is the feeling of lack of self-worth. The inability to find, shall we say, that greatness within. To see, therefore, externally, and to make values based on external things, to compensate for the lack of that which is within oneself, within one's family, within one's relatives, within one's friends, and so on. It is also a way to cover problems, discrepancies, mistakes within the society by making others look. It's like diversionary tactic, you know? Diversionary. Just like if you're going to steal over here, then somebody makes loud noises over there. And then the thief comes and takes everything while everybody's looking over there. Yeah? So when there is something within society which is not correct or may even be rotten, these kind of structures are a diversionary tactic to divert people's consciousness from their own problem to that which is external. You can especially see this in Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany, where there were so many defects in the management of that society, I'll get to that point later on. But by the creation of wonderful external arrangements, people bought into a dream of what was society. Now that's a very important point which I'm going to write down to get to later. Now, there will be definitely a conflict between those people who think the greatness and grandeur of society helps the people, and those who understand that if the greatness and grandeur is a diversion or a means to avoid dealing with the individuals in the society, it's something harmful. So these two groups always clash. That's why Castro in Cuba, I think it was in the late 50s, beginning of the 60s, he shot all the intellectuals in Cuba. I remember when I was quite young watching TV, and they were just lining up all the intellectuals and shooting them. Because it has been seen that the greatest enemy of a society which buys into a dream are intellectuals who are not under the illusion of the dream. That's another point. So, now you may be wondering, what does this all have to do with creating a spiritual society? Well, the reason I'm explaining this is because in order to create a spiritual society, you have to create a society of spiritualists. That, I think, although it may seem to be quite obvious, is something which is misunderstood and misrepresented in many different forms and cultures throughout time. Because if you try to create a spiritual society, the emphasis is on the spiritual society. You see society, for example, as a quantifiable thing in a box. You know what quantifiable means? You know, there's quality and there's quantity, yeah? No, I'm explaining this to you. Yeah, okay, you got it? Yeah. Now, to make such a distinction between a spiritual society and a society of spiritualists, because actually all you're doing is just shifting around the two words and putting an "of" in between. But actually, it's a very, very significant difference. Because when you have so-called spiritual society, then, yeah, good. Then you are thinking of the society as being spiritual. And when you think of a society of spiritualists, you're thinking about people who are spiritual, who get together and make a society. It's like a 180-degree difference. A spiritual society is more impersonal than a society of spiritualists. Do you understand that distinction? Is there somebody, now be honest, because I'm ready to explain it again. Is there somebody who does not understand that distinction? Don't be afraid to raise your hand. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Okay, yeah. Tell what's the problem. Go ahead. Ask him to speak. Okay, he doesn't want to. It's okay. Sorry, I embarrassed him. So, that in that distinction between a society of spiritualists and a spiritual society, you will find the theme of this seminar. And actually, if you're very quick, you've understood everything right there. That's why in the beginning I spoke about a society which is based on being a society rather than a group of people. If you think about Nazi Germany, Tsarist Russia, or the Roman Empire, you know, of whoever it might have been, Caesar or Nero or any of those persons, or the British Empire of the kings and queens, you see a society which is dictated to, directed by a powerful individual who people deify. Now, here you find the essential fault of any society which is based on creating it according to some dream or ideal. Even in Yugoslavia, there was Tito's Yugoslavia. There is a person who, here in Russia also in the modern times, you've got Lenin and Trotsky's Russia. You had Stalin's Russia. Huh? You understand the point. You also know, yeah. You also know, of course, the difference. If you remember, I remember very well the difference between, you know, Brezhnev's Russia and Andropov's Russia. You remember that? I know it very well. It was very much different. Huh? And then again, Gorbachev's. Huh? You can see how an individual, a powerful individual, can cause a society to go in a particular way, especially when that powerful individual is deified. Now, this concept of deification does not necessarily refer to something spiritual. You know, there's also a concept of pagan deities. Pagan, you know what pagan means? Pagan is like, in the Christian, this is a Christian word, it means anyone who's not Christian or who worships trees or all multiple gods or spirits, or they're called pagans. Yeah? What's that word in Russian? Huh? Idol, okay. Not idol worshippers, pagans. Pagans, it means just anyone who's non-Christian who... Yeah? Okay, so even people think of pagan idols, you know? So it is not necessarily something which is specifically a spiritual concept. We're simply talking about people who put a human being in a situation where that human being is now placed above the platform of human, who's put into the platform of superhuman. When you make a society based on some rather impersonal ideal, which is based on somebody's idea, who other people buy into, and who therefore gradually deify this person more and more, push him into a higher position, until finally that person becomes a stereotype of himself, becomes more and more narrow-minded, more and more seeing us and them. Us and them. There's those of us who are great because we are in this society. You find that in all the empires, if you historically look. And there are those who are outsiders, who are bad, who are low, who therefore should be dominated, who therefore should be exterminated, killed, wiped out. So that the real people, with the real qualities, the chosen people of God, and if you think about it, you just go through history, so many thought like this, we shall lead the earth. But if you look historically at the people in that society, they weren't happy. They had problems, many problems. But if the leader was very charismatic and very powerful, he hypnotized the people into accepting this dream. Yeah? I saw when I was in maybe 7th grade in school, that means I was about 12 years old. In my social studies class, my teacher, his name was Mr. Goldwasser. Goldwasser. He was Jewish, and his family was from Germany, and they had all been killed by the Nazis. So one day, he got a projector, put it into the classroom, projected it on a screen, and ran movies of Hitler's speeches in Nuremberg. Have you heard about Nuremberg? It was this big arena where Hitler used to go there and give his speeches, and everybody would cheer, and there would be marches, and there would be shows, and he picked out scenes from different newsreels where all of the people were just cheering. Young women were just going, Adolf! And there were barriers holding people back from breaking free. And they had these blissful smiles on their faces. And they were just in complete ecstasy because their leader was speaking to them. And he used to point to them and said, look at them, look at them. You think they're going to change? You think they're any different today? Look at them. All those people, they grew up. They're in charge now. All those people, they grew up. They grew up. Now they're in charge. They're running the country. You think there's any difference? He used to say. Because what I'm trying to say is when you have a dream like that, yeah? And you really don't know. I mean, who knew Adolf Hitler? Who was his friend? Nobody knew him. I personally, he may have been whatever he was, but nobody knows what that is. The people didn't know him, but they knew the dream, the greatness, the vision, the mission. We are the Aryans. Blonde hair, blue eyes. We are going to create the perfect race of supermen living in the perfect society. Anyway, you've heard it before. Therefore, I am now going to stop talking about this theme, and I'm now going to push aside this concept of creating any kind of society, perfect society, progressive society, learned society, spiritual society, anything society. I push it aside. I put it in the museum and lock the key in the glass case. And we can all go there with our children and show them this masterpiece in the glass case and say, in the past, before people were enlightened, they made these things. Now we're going to talk about the real theme, which is creating a society of spiritualists. Forget the buildings. Forget the achievements. Forget the mission. Forget the accomplishments. Forget the deified leader. Forget the dream. Somebody may then say, but forget this, forget this, forget this. What do you got? Well, what do you got? You got us. In fact, you've got more than what you forgot. Because you've got us. We are people. Now, of course, you've heard power to the people. Power to the people simply means power to the people simply means power to some other leaders who managed to capture power with another kind of dream. It's just simply, it's another way of packaging. Because the people also have no power. Now, I think, personally, the most important thing is you. You, the person. Everything else is secondary. Now, if you are happy, and you and you and you who are happy come together, then you've got a happy society. Generally. If you are spiritual, and you are spiritual, and you are spiritual, and you and you and you get together, you have a spiritual society. Is it not? It doesn't depend on membership fees. It doesn't depend on contracts. It doesn't even depend on whether you agree with each other or not. Because you have a quality which you share with someone else, then a group of people who share the same qualities make a society. That's why in faraway places they have very nice societies. They don't have big buildings, they don't have cars, they don't have radios. They don't have public relations departments. But they have society. Now, if we just focus here on the individual. Now, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, okay? That means I'm not going to embarrass anybody. So we'll take this theoretical person. This theoretical person is some man who's married to the theoretical wife. So we have our theoretical husband and wife standing in front of us. We will separate them momentarily. There'll be a slight shedding of tears on their part. But we will separate them momentarily and examine them as our specimen individuals. Now, if we look into the heart of our husband and wife, and I'm not talking here about looking into what they want you to see, because there's almost always a difference in those who are not very secure and aware and enlightened. There's almost always a difference between what they present themselves to be and what they are inside. Now, that's not a criticism of people. That's just the way they are. And why? If we just examine this one fact that every one of you in this audience knows is true. If you just examine that one fact, why is it that what we are inside and what we present ourselves to be outside is different I think you'll find the key
Я думаю, что вы найдете такой ключ,
to understanding how to have a spiritual society.
как построить, как иметь духовное общество.
And we'll talk about that, and you can
И мы поговорим об этом,
decide for yourself later on
и вы можете позже сами для себя решить,
whether I was right or wrong.
был я прав или нет.
Remember, this is an experiment.
Помните, что это всего лишь эксперимент.
So, the husband
Так, итак, муж.
presents himself
Он
as
представляет себя как
intelligent,
умный, разумный,
someone who's aware of what's happening,
тот, кто прекрасно понимает, что происходит,
who's
тот, кто
got himself economically stable,
экономически стабилен,
who knows
человек,
how to enjoy himself at the bar,
знает, как, в общем, прийти в бар и наслаждаться там,
who has a good time with his other friends,
который умеет хорошо проводить время со своими друзьями,
who will very much enjoy explaining about his sexual conquests,
человек, который может очень хорошо хвастаться тем своими сексуальными победами
to his other friends,
перед своими друзьями,
who will explain his philosophy
кто может объяснить свою философию
to anyone.
любому.
We're not talking here about some special people. This is the way everybody is.
Каких-то особых лиц, это каждый такой.
Maybe more, maybe less.
Кто-то больше, кто-то в меньшей степени.
Huh? But that is a very much stereotyped
На
person.
самом деле это очень распространенный тип.
Even if he's very learned,
Даже если он очень образован,
even if he's very famous,
даже если нет,
he will embody those qualities to a certain
он
extent.
воплотит вот эти качества в определенной степени.
Now,
Итак,
the ladies will also embody
женщины, они тоже будут
their own particular qualities.
свои собственные характерные качества,
But I'm not going to be so stupid as to start talking about it.
чтобы начать говорить.
Now, what does this hypothetical man
И что же этот гипотетический
gain
человек приобретает
by presenting himself like that?
таким образом?
Can anybody tell me?
Кто-нибудь смотрит?
What does he gain?
Что он выиграет?
Why does he do it? What does he get out of it?
И что он от этого получает?
Huh?
Authority.
Authority, okay. Position.
Положение, да?
Yeah. Position.
Положение. Что еще?
What did he say?
Good, good move from good,
Appreciation.
то есть расположение, то есть оценка со стороны людей.
Okay, what else?
Что еще?
Self-confidence, she said.
Самоуверенность. Safety, to be not rejected by society.
Not to be rejected, to be accepted.
То есть уверенность в том, что тебя примут в обществе, не отвергнут. Сказали, the same. Authority.
What'd she say? Situation. Be self-situated. To situate himself. Anyway, you all understand it. Anyone else? Any other idea?
Еще какие-нибудь идеи есть? Что человек приобретает?
Yeah? Following the fashion, okay. Yeah, I would like to say that
Я бы сказал,
there's something deeper here that I'd like you to get at if you can. If you just think about it, why a person does like that. What do they want from it? What are they going to gain from it?
что же человек все-таки обретает Joy and happiness.
Joy and happiness, yes. No, come on. We're not being philosophical here. We're being... What is the basic thing that everybody wants?
Основная вещь, которую каждый хочет. Meaningful.
And what is the most meaningful thing?
Наиболее значимая вещь какая?
Enjoying? What do you enjoy the most? Lust? Do you enjoy lust the most? Love. Who said love? Boy, that was like pulling teeth. Isn't it funny how we're so out of contact with ourselves? All these other things, don't they all base on that? To be loved? Isn't that the basis of it all? Appreciation, respect, acceptance, successfulness, enjoyment. You enjoy lust, you enjoy love. How much you can enjoy making lust, how much you can enjoy making love. Isn't it? Isn't it now really? What is it you really enjoy? The love. Isn't it? Come on, I want a more assertive audience out there. Do you really appreciate the love or not? But who has that love? Why don't people have that love? Okay, I want an answer. Why you don't get that love?
We don't love ourselves.
Ah, who said that? Smart. Therefore, everybody looks for all these external things to bring that love to them because they know they cannot get it if they were just themselves. Why? Because they know they are not lovable. Why? Because they don't love themselves. I don't love me, therefore you can't love me. If you're going to love me, I have to be something that you will love. So therefore I create a whole external image of myself according to what I think you will love. Does it make sense? Now, can you imagine a society of people all doing that? The men do it, the women do it. All you women know very well how you do the same thing. How you make yourselves into such an entity that the men will love you. And the men make themselves into such an entity that the women will love them.
что женщины будут любить его. Это мужчина.
When the two get together,
Когда двое собираются вместе,
both buying into the dream of what each of them are,
и каждый как бы клюет на эту удочку второго, второго,
you have the same exact fault that you have when you try to create a something society.
это получается точно та же ошибка, которая возникает, когда вы пытаетесь создать какое-то общество.
The same exact things we just talked about in an artificial society
Которое мы говорили про искусственное общество,
also works
точно та же
in
вещь
artificial marriages
в этих искусственных
for relationships.
или искусственных взаимоотношениях.
Everybody presents themselves
Каждый выставляет себя
according to what would be that which attracts
в соответствии с тем,
or does whatever it does to another,
чтобы привлекать
and together they create the image
они создают такой имидж
for the world and for themselves.
перед миром, окружающим миром и для себя самих.
Why do they divorce?
Почему же они разводятся?
Because one day
Потому что однажды
they realize,
они осознают,
well, the dream doesn't work.
этот сон не работает.
They one day
Однажды
look inside
они смотрят внутрь
and realize
и осознают,
that, well, I really want to be loved and love.
я хочу любить, и чтобы меня любили,
But you can't love
но вы не можете любить,
unless you have the capacity to love.
пока у вас нет способности любить.
This will be very much the theme tomorrow.
И завтра как раз мы будем очень много об этом говорить.
In other words,
Другими словами,
you have to be first a person.
вам самим сначала надо быть личностью,
A person who is real.
которая настоящая.
Not a person who someone has told you you should be.
А не личностью, которая кто-то сказал вам, что вы должны быть.
The perfect person in the perfect society.
Совершенным обществом.
The perfect person does not pass gas in an important gathering.
Газ на важных совещаниях.
Now, if you were to pass gas in an important gathering, I don't think that this would mean anything for your spiritual capacity.
Как-то влияет на вашу духовную способность.
It simply speaks about the bacteria which are living in your intestines.
Живет в вашем кишечнике.
Now, if I'm not supposed to be my body, then I'm certainly not my bacteria
Моим телом,
in my body.
несомненно, я не являюсь той бактерией, которая живет в моем теле.
So, first I have to be in contact
Поэтому прежде всего я должен быть в контакте
with me,
со мной,
the soul.
со мной душой.
Then I am developing gradually
Постепенно я
spiritual qualities.
развиваю духовные качества.
When I am developing the spiritual qualities,
Развиваю духовные качества.
remember, tomorrow we're going to talk about this in great detail.
Завтра мы будем говорить об этом подробно.
And
И
actually, I should have had the seminars switched.
на самом деле я бы хотел, чтобы эти семинары были поменять местами.
But anyway, you'll just have to keep everything like a notepad in your head. But
Иначе вам сейчас просто придется как бы записывать все в записную книжку в голове.
when I'm a spiritualist,
Когда я
a spiritual person
человек, духовная личность,
who understands what's valuable to himself
которая понимает, что ценно для себя,
and therefore can appreciate others
и поэтому может ценить других,
who also have the same understanding,
у кого тоже есть такое же понимание,
then when I get together with those groups of people, we have a spiritual society.
когда я собираюсь вместе с этими людьми в одну группу, то у нас получается духовное общество.
Actually, there's nothing more to it than that.
И на самом деле в этом нет больше ничего.
Now, I'm not going to start talking about
об этом больше ничего не скажешь.
all of the specific spiritual qualities, how to develop them, and so
Я
on.
не собираюсь сейчас рассказывать о всех этих
Like I said,
как их развивать и так далее.
That's for tomorrow.
Это я уже сказал. Это
But how would a group of people who are spiritualists
как люди,
live?
которые являются духовными, как вот эта группа людей будет жить?
Well, they would have their homes,
Ну, у них будут свои дома,
they would have their
у
families,
них будут свои семьи,
they would have their sources of income,
у них будут свои источники дохода,
they would have their friends,
у них будут свои друзья,
they would have their clubs,
у них будут свои клубы,
they would play sports with others who they wanted to, they would play music with others.
заниматься спортом друг с другом, они будут играть музыку.
For example, you may think sports is not spiritual.
Можете подумать, о, спорт это не духовно.
But for example, to go hiking in the forest,
Например, ходить,
walking in the forest,
ну, например, ходьба, прогулки по лесу,
to go up into the mountains together,
или как альпинизм,
these are sports.
ходить вместе, это же спорт.
And what do you find there? You find a very nice spiritual atmosphere.
Находитесь там, вы находитесь там прекрасная духовная атмосфера,
To swim
или плавать,
or to whatever you might do, ride horses
что-то
together.
можно делать. Например, кататься на лошадях, вместе.
There are so many even
Есть так много
activities
таких видов деятельности,
which, when your consciousness is spiritual,
которые, если ваше
start
сознание
having
то они
a completely different
начинают выглядеть для вас совершенно
quality to them.
по-другому. Появляются совершенно другие качества у этих видов деятельности.
You know?
Понимаете?
Or music.
Музыка.
If you are a spiritual person,
Если вы духовная личность,
then you can sit down
вы можете сесть
and play beautiful
и
music,
прекрасную музыку,
which even without words
и даже без слов,
embodies
она
a very
воплощает в себя
spiritual quality.
очень духовное качество.
You know, it's an actual fact
Это на самом деле
that the most important communications between people
важное общение между людьми.
are nonverbal.
Это невербальное общение.
Actually, I'd like to get into the whole point of nonverbal energy transfers.
На самом деле я бы хотел очень подробно даже остановиться на этом невербальном передаче энергии.
Maybe we can get into that during the week sometime.
Может быть, мы на неделе об этом поговорим.
I'll speak about this to a little extent tomorrow, but
Завтра об этом немножко поговорим.
music is one of those nonverbal things.
Одна из этих невербальных вещей.
You don't say to somebody, okay, now feel good and here's why. You just play some music and they feel
Не
good.
говорите человеку, вот теперь ты должен чувствовать себя хорошо, и вот потому-то и потому.
Or they feel-
Играйте музыку.
They feel peaceful,
Или люди чувствуют себя
or
удовлетворенными,
they feel an upliftment.
возвышение какое-то внутреннее.
Now, when a group of spiritually minded people get together
Группа людей, духовно
and play music,
собираются вместе и играют музыку,
they almost always
они практически
play spiritual music.
играют духовную музыку.
When a group of spiritually minded people get together and cook,
Люди духовно настроены, собираются вместе и готовят,
they always create spiritual food.
у них всегда получается духовная пища.
When a group of spiritually minded people get together
Вместе люди духовно настроенные
and just associate or
просто общаются,
meditate together,
медитируют вместе,
they create a spiritual atmosphere.
они создают духовную атмосферу.
It's not dependent on any building.
Это не зависит ни от каких зданий,
It's not dependent on any authority.
от какого-то авторитета.
It's not something that requires rules and regulations.
Это не что-то, для чего нужно правила, предписания.
When energy is flowing,
Когда энергия течет,
it is absolutely destroyed
она полностью
by structures.
ее полностью разрушает любые структуры.
If you try to make energy flow in a particular way,
Заставить энергию течь каким-то образом,
then you destroy the freedom of that energy.
тогда вы нарушаете свободу этой энергии.
Now, that is a sensitive point because it can be understood in different ways.
Такой тонкий момент, потому что можно понять это по-разному, но
For example, these lights
Например, вот эти,
are energy.
вот эти прожектора, это
You want them to be on the person you're videoing.
и вы хотите направить эту энергию на того человека, которого вы снимаете на видео.
These loudspeakers are energy.
Эти усилители, это
You want them to go to the ears of the listeners.
чтобы они были направлены на уши слушателей.
My speaking is energy.
Моя речь — это энергия.
I want it to go in your ears,
Я хочу, чтобы она дошла до
your
вашего
heart.
до вашего сердца.
However,
Однако,
if before I came down here to speak,
если до того, как я спустился сюда, чтобы говорить,
you were to come to me and say, you can talk about this and you can talk about that, but you cannot talk about this and you cannot talk about that.
ты не можешь говорить о
You've
том,
only got 45 minutes to talk. In that 45 minutes, you have to accomplish this and that.
сделать то и это,
It'll be a very different experience.
то это было бы совершенно другое, что получилось.
Because living systems,
Живая система,
living entities,
то есть живое существо,
do not grow their best when working on the spiritual platform by being put into structures
на него накладывают структуры,
which are not compatible
которые не совместимы
with themselves.
с ним самим.
Now, a plant, for instance,
Растения, к примеру,
some plants grow very nicely when they're tied to a stick.
растут очень хорошо, когда вы привязываете к палке.
But other plants
Другие растения
cannot tolerate being tied to a stick.
не терпят, когда их привязывают к палке.
Some plants grow on lattices, you know, where
Растут на таких, как бы,
these things are.
таких рейках.
Some plants grow down.
А некоторые растения растут вниз.
They're all plants,
Они все
but they
растения,
all
но
have
у них у всех
their particular requirement.
есть свои как бы конкретные требования.
If you try to put a rule and regulation on all the plants,
Если вы захотите сделать правила предписания для всех них, для всех растений,
it doesn't work.
то это у вас ничего не получится.
And if you try to put rules and regulations and structures on each and every plant,
Постарайтесь сделать правила предписания и структуры на каждое отдельное растение, конкретно,
then you can do one of two things.
то вам придется сделать одно из двух.
You can put a structure on them
Вы можете сделать
which is not good for them,
структуры для них, которые не подходят для них.
even if you think it is good for them.
Хотя вы можете думать, что они подходят для них.
Or you can put a structure on them which is good for them.
И сделать структуры, которые подходят для них.
But if you're putting something on something which is good for that thing,
Но если вы накладываете на них
you're
то,
not
что
putting a
хорошо,
structure
то
on,
вы не накладываете на них структуру,
you're assisting it
вы помогаете
to develop
развивать
according to its requirements and potentials as a living entity.
с их потенциалом как живого существа.
That's very different.
И это совершенно другая вещь.
It's the difference between something that's impersonally imposed
Имперсонально наложено,
and that which is lovingly assisting the development.
что с любовью помогает развитию.
Now, just consider energy flow.
Вот просто рассмотрите процесс потока энергии.
How your energy is flowing in
Как
yourself.
ваша энергия течет в вас самих.
Have you ever
Вы когда-нибудь-
come really in contact with the fact that you are energy?
То есть вы это чувствовали, что вы являетесь энергией? Чувствовали когда-нибудь?
Okay, if you have, then you'll understand what I'm about to say.
Вы поймете, что я хочу сказать.
Have you ever realized how frustrated you were
Когда-нибудь
when that energy of you was blocked
ваша энергия блокирует
by someone else's energy?
энергию кого-то другого? Вы чувствовали разочарование?
Did you ever experience how frustrated you were because of that?
Вы когда-нибудь чувствовали, насколько вы разочарованы из-за этого?
And on the other hand,
А с другой стороны,
how wonderful you felt
как удивительно, вы
when your energy was just lovingly accepted
любовью приняты,
and complementary and growth of that energy was sent back to you
тем она была принята этим человеком и
by somebody else.
кем-то другим. И она уже возросла к этому времени.
It's like day and night.
Это как день и ночь.
When energy flows
когда энергия течет
freely,
свободно,
this is why I was talking about freedom,
поэтому я говорю о свободе,
compatibility versus imposition.
противовес состоянию, противовес как бы насильному какому-то.
Again, to relate this to society,
И опять же,
an enlightened society is one which allows,
параллель с обществом,
not just allows, which assists and facilitates
помогает человеку
its members to
членам
grow perfectly as individuals,
совершенно развиваться как личности,
regardless of what they end up to be,
независимо от того, кто они,
and simply with the goal that they'll be happy,
а просто имеют цель, чтобы все они были счастливы,
progressive, and satisfied,
чтобы они развивались и были удовлетворены.
and nothing more.
Ничего больше.
Of course, there are subordinate things that go along with it, but they come automatically.
Но она возникает само собой.
One who's happy,
Тот, кто счастлив,
one who's satisfied,
тот, кто удовлетворен,
one who's peaceful,
тот, кто умиротворен,
almost everything comes to him.
то к нему практически все само приходит.
And what does come to him
И что
will not disturb his happiness, his peace, or his satisfaction.
мешать его счастью, удовлетворению.
Whereas, if you're trying to accomplish, you're trying to do, you're trying to get,
Что-то получить, добиться,
then you will most likely
то, скорее всего,
accomplish, do, and get things
получите, добьетесь,
which
достигнете те
cut down your feelings of happiness,
которые
satisfaction,
уменьшат
or peacefulness.
ваше умиротворение и ваше удовлетворение.
Let's go back to the energy transfer, okay? I think you can understand what I'm getting at, what we're building up to here.
Я думаю, что вы понимаете, что я хочу вам сказать.
A society of enlightened individuals.
Общество просветленных людей.
And the number one symptom
И симптом номер один
of enlightenment
просветления
is the capacity
способность
to accept
принимать
others,
других,
appreciate others,
ценить других,
love others,
любить других,
and to actually enable others to feel loved,
стать других,
needed,
любимыми
needed,
людьми, которых
and wanted.
необходимы другим и которые желаемы.
Just like if you're a little baby.
Как скажем, вы маленький ребенок.
Now these basic principles which I've just spoken of here,
Это основной принцип, который
I'll review them. If we actually had a board, I would have written them on the board.
Если бы у нас была доска, мы бы сейчас на доске написали.
But you wouldn't have understood them anyway because it would have been in English.
Но вы бы все равно ничего не поняли, потому что это было на английском.
Which is number one, to
Пункт номер один.
love,
Любить.
to be loved,
Быть любимым.
to be appreciated,
Чтобы тебя ценили.
to be respected for what you are,
За то, кто ты есть.
to be accepted for what you are,
Кто ты есть.
to feel needed,
Чувствовать, что ты необходим.
and above all,
И сверх этого,
to be wanted.
чтобы тебя хотели.
That's true now, and that was true when you were this big
Это верно
in the womb of your mother.
И это верно было тогда, когда вы были вот такого размера и находились в утробе своей
Even when you were there in the womb of your mother,
Значит, когда вы
if
были-
your mother didn't want you,
Если бы ваша мама вас не хотела,
her mind, her heart, her energy
сердце, ее энергия,
is frustrated.
она была бы как бы такая разочарованная вами.
And that frustrated
И
energy
эта энергия
is
разочарования,
put into that womb
она бы попала в нее,
because this unwanted thing
потому что
is
это
there.
нежелательная вещь там находится в ней.
People who have developed or were born with such an energy put on them at such a time
Рождались вот в таких условиях,
through their whole life
действовала такая энергия,
are simply searching to be wanted.
они всю свою жизнь просто ищут, чтобы их кто-то хотел.
Because if you don't get that when you're this big,
Потому что если вы не получили
You spend the rest of your life trying to get it. You can probably trace all of one's, not all of course, but that's an exaggeration, but one's basic attempt in his life to get that which you did not get in your childhood. A child, a baby, who is loved, cherished as valuable, wanted, needed, appreciated, and respected as an individual, not as a product of its mother and father. Oh child, you shall be great. You shall be this. No. That's a creation. That's not a person. The person should be in the enlightened society, yeah? Enlightened husband loves himself, accepts himself for what he is, because he can't be anything else. Any other idea is useless, because you can only be what you are. I'll get more into that tomorrow, because somebody's thinking, well, if I go to school, I'll be better. If I learn good qualities, I'll be better. But actually, these are external things. We're talking really about what I am. I am already perfect. Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Kabhu Nai. I'm already perfect. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachate. I am already perfect. Do you know that I am qualitatively equal with God? Do you know I have all the qualities of God? Aren't I special? That's us. So enlightened man is one who understands that he is equal with the Lord's qualities. He has the same qualities as the Lord. There is non-difference. He's part of God. In his ultimate state, he's non-different. Of course, we know we're not as great. But when we know we're not as great, we usually say we're bad. Okay, forget about the quantitative difference. Only a madman thinks himself quantitatively equal with God. We're not interested in speaking to such people. But even if such a madman were to be here in the audience, we don't mind. He can think that he's God. It doesn't bother me. But what's important now is that we are as good as God. We are not different. But that does not mean me and you are the same. He's infinite. Therefore, I am this particular non-different portion. You are this particular non-different portion. You are this particular non-different portion. And we're all great because of that. But I'm different from you. You're different from him. You're different from her. This is called purified oneness.
очищенное единство.
It's actually one of the Vaishnava schools of thought, and it's a very good one.
Это одна из вайшнавских школ такой, что это очень хорошая школа.
Because when you emphasize the difference,
Потому что если вы подчеркиваете отличие,
and you are mentally or emotionally unstable,
если у вас при этом
you take that as an excuse to put yourself down because you don't love yourself.
это как оправдание, чтобы унизить себя, потому что вы не любите себя.
When you don't love yourself,
Если вы не любите
you
себя,
can't love anyone
вы
else.
не можете любить никого другого.
The main problem in society
В обществе
is the people in it don't love themselves,
люди, которые в нем находятся, не любят себя.
and therefore they cannot love others.
Они не могут любить других.
When you can't love others, you don't care about others.
Других вы не
Really.
любите других по-настоящему.
When you don't care about others, society goes to hell.
Общество катится в ад.
Society is made great when the people in it care about others
Процветает, когда люди внутри него заботятся о других.
because they love themselves.
Потому что они любят себя.
And therefore they can love
И
others.
поэтому они могут любить других.
So that perfect enlightened husband
Этот совершенный
loves himself
любит себя.
because he is a very special part of God.
Он очень особенная частичка Бога, часть Бога.
To hate yourself is to hate part of God.
Себя это означает ненавидеть часть Бога.
To hate the material world
Ненавидеть
is to
материальную
hate Krishna's energy.
энергию Кришны.
So the enlightened person loves himself.
Просветленный человек, он любит себя.
The enlightened person
Просветленный человек
appreciates
ценит
himself for what he is.
за то, каков он есть.
Actually, he appreciates himself as part of God.
На самом деле он ценит себя как часть
And the enlightened person accepts whatever qualities he has,
Просветленный человек принимает все качества, которые у него есть,
always trying to be better.
и всегда пытается быть лучше.
Because the enlightened person loves the mode of goodness.
Ему нравится гуна благости.
He loves the mode of
Он
goodness.
любит гуна благости.
And he wants to always make things better and ever increasing.
Вещи были лучше и лучше.
And because he's in the mode of goodness,
Потому что он находится в гуне,
he accepts his wife,
свою жену,
he accepts his children for what they are.
детей за то, как
He accepts his neighbors for what they are.
соседей, за то, какими они являются.
He understands them.
Он понимает их,
He appreciates
он
them.
ценит их.
Of course, the enlightened wife is exactly like the enlightened husband.
Конечно, просветленная жена в точности
The enlightened children are exactly like the enlightened parents.
Дети, они в точности похожи на просветленных.
And all the enlightened people
И все просветленные
have a
люди
similar qualification.
одинаковое качество.
They are in the mode of
Они
goodness.
в гуне благости.
They accept and appreciate
Понимают и ценят,
and love themselves.
любят себя,
They accept, appreciate,
принимают
and love
и любят
others
других.
because they see the others are also
Что другие
a beautiful
тоже
part
прекрасные
of the Lord.
части Бога.
And when someone makes a mistake,
Когда кто-то делает ошибку,
they try to help the person
пытается помочь человеку,
or just accept
просто
that that person is not yet in touch with himself
еще не пришел в контакт с самим собой.
and try to help that person
Пытается помочь этому
come in contact with himself.
контакт с самим собой.
What would be a worse jail
Какова была бы самая худшая тюрьма
for a hardened criminal?
для
What would be the worst jail of all?
тюрьма из всех?
Who can tell me?
Кто может сказать? The room is one person inside. One person room.
That's bad, but that's not the worst.
Это плохо, но это не самое худшее. Ты знаешь, что это?
Huh? That's also bad, but that's not the worst.
Тоже плохо, но это не самое худшее. The place where you hate yourself.
That's bad.
Это плохо, но
That's real bad.
на самом деле плохо.
In fact, that's just the next notch up from the worst.
Это почти это как соседняя к самому худшему. Почти правильно.
But what's the worst?
Что самое худшее?
Really stretch your brain on this one.
Это нужно напрячь мозги на самом деле. Место, где тебя не любят.
Okay, everybody's talking about something not.
Все говорят,
I'm talking about a place where it is.
а я говорю, то есть где тебя что-то нет, а я говорю о месте, где тебя что-то делают.
You know? Huh?
The place where you are loved.
That's real close.
Это очень близко.
That's real close.
Место, где тебя любят. The place where everybody forgive you all your faults.
Well, that's not so bad, but it's like this, okay?
Ну, хорошо, я скажу.
He was pretty close.
Вот он был очень близко.
I personally feel
Я лично считаю,
the worst,
что самое худшее,
and that's in quotation marks now,
это сейчас я беру,
what we're really saying here is the hardest place
что самое суровое место это
for a criminal to be.
для преступника. Это,
Before I even say it, let's examine the criminal a little bit.
ну давайте сначала, прежде чем я скажу, все проверим, кто такой преступник. Посмотрим на него.
He's in the mode of ignorance and passion.
Он невежество и страсть, так?
Yeah? He loves to be in the jail with other criminals who speak the same way as him,
Которые говорят на том же языке, которым он,
who drink the same things as him,
которые пьют то же, что он,
who take the same drugs as him,
которые принимают те же наркотики, что он,
who rape the other inmates like him,
которые насилуют других так же, как и он.
who sit around all day talking about all kinds of useless things that they did or would do or can do, and
Сидят целыми днями и говорят о всяких бесполезных вещах, разговорки, что они делают или хотели делать.
criminals, they get along quite well with other criminals in the jail.
Преступники не очень хорошо себя чувствуют с другими преступниками в тюрьме.
What makes them frustrated is that they can't get out of the jail and do all those things.
Что их разочаровывает, это что они не могут выбраться из тюрьмы и сделать то, что они как бы планируют.
Now, just consider this jail.
Теперь вот посмотрите на эту тюрьму.
It's clean,
Она чистая,
it's bright,
и светлая,
it's peaceful.
умиротворенная.
It has beautiful, soothing music, meditative music.
Такая музыка медитативная, там, такая.
It's vegetarian.
Она вегетарианская.
No smoking,
Нет никакого курения,
no drinking.
никто не пьет.
Where you're given education
Там тебя учат, дают образование,
in good qualities,
очень хорошем качестве.
with special psychological emphasis on rewarding the good qualities and punishing
Очень тонко
the bad.
поощряют хорошие качества и наказывают за плохие.
And it's long term.
И срок заключения длинный.
Just meditate that on it.
Просто подумайте об этом.
Might be quite interesting.
Это может быть очень интересно.
I'm not saying we should make jails like that. It was just a mental exercise.
Это просто упражнение для ума.
But wouldn't it be really a very special, horrible place?
Очень ужасное место.
Just like when somebody who's like drinking beer and eating a hot dog wanders into a temple,
Кто-то любит там эти хот-доги
you know,
и
and has a cigarette in his hand, you know, and the first thing he's told is put that cigarette out, dump that hot dog outside, and throw that can of beer away. And he goes, huh?
выбросить свою бутылку с пивом туда, мусорное ведро. Он говорит, что?
You know how those people feel, right?
Вы знаете, что чувствуют такие люди?
Then you never see them again.
И вы больше не увидите правильно людей.
So, can you imagine a jail
Можете себе представить вот тюрьму,
where these hardened criminals are
все эти вот закоренелые преступники,
put into such a situation?
помещены вот в такую ситуацию?
In India, I mentioned this in some classes before, when two children are fighting, the teacher has them each hold the other's ears. You know this example, yeah? And then the teacher says, pull. And each of them are pulling the other's ears. And the more one pulls, the other pulls. And they're both screaming, pulling. And the teacher says, pull, pull. When you're forced to give pain to each other, without the possibility of conquering, you know, because in a war, everybody's hurt. But the thing that makes you feel good is you conquered. That's why sometimes the jails don't work, because the society thinks it conquered the criminal. But the criminal in the jail is thinking, you're never going to conquer me. When I get out of this place, I'm going to screw you royal. When there's a battle without anybody being able to conquer the other, and when you are educated, forced to be educated, with goodness, with love, isn't it hell? Now, let's take that example and put it on children. If I have a particular quality and I'm being educated against my quality, if I'm being pushed into a situation which is grating on my energy, I'm just going to wait for that moment when I can get out of there. That's why our ideal jail doesn't work. Because when you try to change somebody against their will, they don't change. That's why you can never make children something. You cannot mold them into something. You can simply discover what they are. Appreciate that. Love that. Respect that. And want it. Because when a child does not feel wanted, then he will create this whole arrangement in his life to feel wanted. And if he was not properly allowed to develop, he may even go into a criminal society because they want him. Or he may go into any kind of society or any kind of group who wants him. And because he wants to feel wanted, he accepts it, even if it's not necessarily the best thing for him. Therefore, in an enlightened society, the number one responsibility is to want your children, to appreciate them, respect them. Respect means you understand what they are, and you simply facilitate them to be the best they can be in that way. Here's where Varnashram is very enlightened. Varnashram is very enlightened. I am not proposing Varnashram Dharma. But the principles of Varnashram are very enlightened. For example, in modern society, To be a Sudra
быть шодрой
is considered
считается
low.
низким.
To be, in Varnashram also it became like that, and even everybody thinks like that.
И все сейчас думают,
Even in spiritual societies, they think
общество,
Brahmanas are great
думают, браманы великие,
and Sudras are low.
шодры низкие.
That's why always, all over the world,
Повсюду в мире
they take third world, low-class
третий стран третьего
people
люди из стран третьего мира низкие.
and hire them as cleaners,
И нанимают их как
housekeepers, servants,
слугами,
slaves,
рабами.
whatever. Because they're low,
Потому что они низкие.
I'm great,
Я великий.
you do what I want.
Ты делай то, что я хочу.
Now, in an enlightened society,
В зеленом обществе,
if you are enlightened,
если вы просветлены,
if you're in the mode of goodness,
если вы в благости,
you understand
вы понимаете,
that Vijavanaya Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hastani. Huh? You know that verse?
вы знаете этот стих?
The man who's a pandit,
Человек, который является ханди,
who actually has knowledge,
у кого на самом деле знает,
he does not even make a distinction
даже не проводит различия
between
между
a dog
собакой,
or a dog eater,
собакоедом
an elephant or a person or any animal
или любым животным,
or a cow or a goat or a plant or a demigod.
коровы или полубог или растение.
That's an enlightened person
Это просветленный человек.
because he sees everybody
Всех
as spiritual
как духовных.
because he is himself spiritual.
Потому что он сам духовный.
I am a sample of everybody.
Я как бы мерила всех.
If I am really aware of me,
Если я на самом деле
then automatically I'm aware of you
осознаю,
because you and me are very similar.
очень похожи.
Enlightened people
Просветленные люди
do not make a distinction
делают различия.
between low-class occupations and high-class occupations.
Сорта и занятиями высокого.
There are simply people in occupations.
Люди, которые занимаются теми или иными.
The enlightened society
Просветленные
does not make
не
discriminations
проводят различия
between
между
different occupations,
различными видами занятий.
but simply facilitates
Просто помогает.
those occupations so that the members within it are happy.
Люди, которые занимались ими, были счастливы.
Therefore, everybody is educated according to their capacities.
Поэтому всем дают образование в соответствии с их способностями.
Whatever your capacity is, you should be educated in that way
Ты должен получить
to
образование,
get whatever you can
и получить всё,
in
что
that
ты
way.
можешь вот таким путем.
You know what I mean?
Понимаешь, что я имею в виду?
In other words, see everybody as an individual
Видеть каждого
and
человека
respect that.
и уважать это.
You know, just like when
Так сказать,
somebody's putting up bricks on a wall.
кто-то складывает кирпичный мост.
This is normally considered some
Обычно
laborer.
это каким-то таким трудом черным.
But you know,
Но
to put those bricks on the wall straight
вы знаете,
is
что
not so simple.
положить кладку очень ровно, это не так просто.
When I was building the Almvik
Когда я строил Англию,
big building there,
там было большое здание, мы строили.
two very great brahmanas
И два великих брамы
were laying a brick wall.
клали кирпичную стену.
So I taught them how to do it. I said, look, you put down the cement there, then you put the bricks with a little bit in between, yeah? And then you make a string.
Затем натянешь веревочку,
And then you put the next bricks up right against that string.
кладешь как раз вдоль,
So on the next level, putting one brick across the other halfway,
потом,
so that you'll make a straight wall.
и тогда у тебя получается прямая стена.
But the great brahmanas said,
И этот великий брахма сказал,
who needs this string?
нам нужна эта веревочка.
So their wall became like that.
И их стена получилась вот такая.
You know, the bottom and the top lined up, but in between it went like
Верх и
this.
низ, они как бы на одном уровне, но посередине
Now, if we wanted to make some kind of special projection screen, I'm sure it was a very beautiful wall.
Если бы мы хотели сделать какую-то специальную стену для проектора, видео, то это, наверное, хорошо бы подошло такая стена.
But because it was a schoolroom,
Но поскольку это была стена для
it was
школы,
stupid.
это было глупо.
So we had to make the wall this thick to put plaster on both sides of it so it would be straight. You see, normally people, they don't think that this person laying bricks. I'm just using an example. Every occupation is like this. Is very important. Because they themselves don't know what it takes to make a good wall. Or how you make the bricks go around this and that and everything straight and beautiful and the fact that this person has to carry all those bricks all day long, has to carry them all day long. You know, those bricks are heavy. You may pick one up, you know, and go, well, okay. Can you imagine after 500 of those bricks? And as the wall gets higher and higher, the bricks gotta go higher and higher. The cement has to go higher and higher. Now, it's not that I'm trying to glorify I'm not trying to turn everything into a communistic glorification of the laborers. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to say is that that person has some very great value to him. Now, naturally, you might value more from the external point of view the person who discovered the cure for cancer rather than the bricklayer. But from the spiritual point of view, that bricklayer is every much as part of God as the person who's found out cancer. Rather, the Lord has decided to work through that person who developed the cure in one particular way, and through the bricklayer in another particular way. But both of them are special in their own ways. I think theoretically everyone understands this. It's just putting it into practice that's a little tough. But when you can actually appreciate people, then not only does it work better in the group, but they become better too. For example, if you're trying to play the piano and somebody comes up and goes, oh, you played that wrong. Oh, you played that wrong. After a while, you know, you want to take the music and just throw it in the river. But if you're playing and every now and then you go, da, and the person says, it was good, you know, and as soon as you get rid of those bamps, it's going to be great. You're going to be great. I know it. Then you're being honest and encouraging. That's called emphasize the good and do not emphasize the bad unless you are using that emphasis to train, to teach. I'm so tired. What time is it? 9 o'clock. Okay. Okay, I'll just finish off with a couple of points. Famous last words. I remember in the management seminar I said that, and a day later I ended.
Дадим, да, ребят.
Love works best when there's a flow.
Любовь лучше всего действует, когда есть поток.
Life is a flow.
Жизнь — это поток.
If you consider life
Если вы
like a stream
рассматриваете жизнь как поток,
flowing
как что-то текущее,
into the sea,
море,
now you could think
вы можете думать,
the
что
goal of that stream
цель этого ручья —
is to end up in the sea.
это найти конец, то есть закончиться в море.
That's one way to think about it.
Это один способ смотреть на это.
Very goal-oriented into the destination.
Это такой взгляд, как бы очень нацеленный, ориентированный на цель.
You could think
Вы можете думать,
the goal is to
что есть цель,
just flow,
просто течь.
because that's what streams do.
Потому что это как раз то, что делает ручей.
Understand the difference?
Понимаете разницу?
While the goal-oriented stream,
В то время как тот ручей,
whose whole idea is to end up in the ocean,
который просто хочет закончить
is flowing,
себя в океане, он течет.
he's simply getting somewhere.
И пока он течет, он просто хочет что-то достичь.
And the trees going by, the fish flowing here, the grass growing there, the flowers over there,
Цветы проносятся.
they are just passing fancies on the way to the ocean.
Они просто выглядят как украшения на пути к океану.
But the real goal is to get to that ocean.
Это достичь океана.
The worst thing on earth for that stream
На свете для этого ручья было
is that the Army Corps of Engineers comes and builds a dam and puts the stream somewhere else.
плотину и заставит идти в какую-то другую сторону.
Then the whole purpose of the stream
Вся цель этого
is
ручья
ruined,
разрушена.
and the stream is left in a lake
И этот ручей, он оказался где-то в озере
and feels like a failure.
и чувствует себя неудачником.
Whereas,
В то время как,
if the stream was flowing,
если ручей просто тек,
because that's what streams do,
потому что это как раз то, что
the
делает,
stream was just being itself, flowing.
просто был сам собой, он тек.
Flow, going with the flow, feeling the flowers and the sun and the breeze and just flowing.
И просто тек.
And wherever it got,
И куда бы он ни потек,
that's where it is.
это то, где он оказался.
It's a much happier stream.
То это гораздо более счастливый ручей.
Not only that, but the destination's the same.
И не только это, но еще суть в том, что пункт назначения один и тот же.
It's just two different ways to get there.
Просто есть два пути, как достичь.
One way, you don't enjoy the path to the ocean.
Не наслаждается путем.
The other way, you do enjoy the path to the ocean. And I don't want to hear about how enjoying is bad,
И я не хочу слушать, что мне будут говорить, как плохо
Because-
наслаждаться.
everybody is enjoying.
Потому что все наслаждаются.
They just enjoy that way or this way, but the nature of the living entity is to enjoy. You can't avoid that.
Не можете этого избежать.
You may enjoy mental speculation, you may enjoy 10,000 rasgulas, but you are enjoying.
Миллионы на шагу, но вы наслаждаетесь.
However, the quality of your life
Качество вашей жизни
may not be
может
so great,
не быть таким высоким.
even while you're trying not to enjoy that which you are enjoying.
Не наслаждаться тем, чем вы на самом деле наслаждаетесь.
Whereas the quality of your life may be very great
Как качество в жизни может быть
while you are enjoying that which you are trying to enjoy,
тем, чем вы пытаетесь наслаждаться.
while going to your final destination.
И при этом еще направляетесь к своей конечной цели.
I'm going to talk about that final destination thing tomorrow.
Я завтра буду говорить об этой конечной цели назначения.
What do we speak about when we speak about the material world and time?
И о чем же мы говорим, когда мы говорим о материальном мире и о времени?
Time is governed by past and future.
Оно управляется будущим и прошлым.
But in the spiritual world, it's ever-existing present.
Но в духовном мире это всегда существующее настоящее.
Now, what's the difference
И какова же разница?
if you are already living in the ever-existing present
Если вы уже живете в всегда существующем
with
настоящем,
spiritual consciousness
духовном сознании,
right here?
прямо здесь,
what is the difference
Какова разница
between here and there?
этим и тем?
There and here become, in essence, the same.
По сути, становится одним и тем.
You bring the spiritual ever-presence
Вы берете духовное,
right here.
всегда существующее.
Because if you're spiritual,
Потому что если вы духовны,
and you see others as spiritual,
вы смотрите на других,
and you see all this energy as spiritual in essence,
энергией, как по сути духовное,
and you are flowing
и вы течете
with your existence,
в своем существовании,
at every step being spiritual,
и на каждом
being aware,
на каждом шагу
able to love
и осознаете,
now,
вы способны любить прямо сейчас,
not when you're dead,
а не тогда, когда вы умрете.
then
Тогда
the material world stops being
материальный мир перестает
a frightening place.
быть местом разочарования.
In fact, you're no longer in the material
На
world.
самом деле вы уже не в материальном мире,
You're in the spiritual world.
вы уже в духовном мире.
It is not that the spiritual world can only be Goloka Vrindavan or Vaikuntha.
Духовный мир может быть только на Галоке Вриндаване.
This can also be Vaikuntha.
Здесь тоже может быть Вайкунтха.
Otherwise, how did Vrindavan become Vaikuntha?
А иначе как же Вриндаван мог стать
How did Mayapur become Vaikuntha?
Вайкунтхой?
All the other holy
Все
places.
остальные святые места.
Because the spiritual energy came there
Духовная энергия
and made it so.
сделала это таким.
But you're also spiritual energy.
Вы тоже духовная энергия.
And if a couple of you
Если
got together
пара из вас соберется
in a room,
в одной комнате,
you can also make it spiritual.
вы тоже можете сделать это духовным.
And if many did it, then a bigger place becomes spiritual.
Многие люди делают это, то
And if it's only you doing it,
становится духовным. Если это только вы делаете,
then that which is around you is spiritual.
то то, что вокруг вас становится,
Because that which is spiritual is within you.
потому что то, что внутри вас, оно духовное.
Therefore, you should love yourself.
Поэтому вы должны любить,
Therefore, you should accept yourself.
поэтому вы должны принимать себя.
Therefore, you should not condemn yourself if you have not lived up to these beautiful goals and qualities.
Не подходите, как бы, не дотягивайте до этих
First accept, then grow from where you are.
принять себя, а затем расти из того.
If you don't accept where you are now,
Если вы принимаете
you can never grow
сейчас,
properly from that point.
если вы не сможете нормально расти дальше,
If you're only concerned about that way up there,
вы только
then
занимаетесь тем,
the way to that place is very difficult to understand.
вам нужно пройти, то его очень трудно будет понять.
Don't into the mic. But if you are accepting yourself as you are,
Знаете себя тем, кто вы есть.
and you're simply growing from that point,
Вы просто растете с того положения, где вы находитесь.
well then, life is just growth.
Жизнь будет просто рост.
You see the difference?
Понимаете разницу?
If you've got to grow to over there,
Если вам нужно расти вон туда,
hey, that's tough.
то это тяжело.
If you just got to grow,
А если вам просто надо расти,
that's a lot easier.
то это гораздо легче.
Not only that,
И не только это.
you can live now.
Вы можете жить сейчас.
You don't have to live then when you're there.
Вам не нужно жить там, когда вы туда дойдете.
You can live right now,
Прямо сейчас можете жить.
right here.
Прямо здесь.
You don't have to go anywhere.
Вам не нужно никуда идти.
You're already there.
Вы уже здесь.
You don't have to wait for that time
Вам
to
не нужно
come.
ждать, когда это время придет.
It's already there.
Оно уже здесь.
You just have to go with it. Grow, grow,
Вам нужно просто расти, расти,
grow.
расти.
Like a plant, like a flower. Just grow.
Просто расти.
Accept yourself at each and every step.
И на каждом шагу
Don't condemn yourself.
не проклинать себя.
Don't put yourself down.
Не опускайте себя вниз.
Put yourself up.
Поднимайте себя вверх.
I don't mean with false pride.
Я не хочу сказать, что нужно...
I don't mean with
Не
self-glorification.
говорю само.
I mean accept what you are.
Кто вы есть.
Even if you are only this big.
Если вы даже вот такой маленький всего.
And then grow
Затем расти
to whatever you can be.
до того, кем вы можете быть.
You can't be anything else anyway.
Никем другим в любом случае.
That's one of my mottos nowadays.
Это один из моих лозунгов в настоящее время.
You can't be anything else anyway.
Вы в любом случае не можете быть.
You can only be what you are.
Вы можете в любом случае быть только тем, кто вы есть.
There's nothing else you can be.
Кем вы еще можете быть?
If you got a problem with that,
Если у вас с этим проблемы,
well then you've got a problem.
но у вас проблема.
Because really, there is no other alternative.
Нет никакой альтернативы.
What's the alternative?
Какова альтернатива?
To follow a dream.
Следовать какому-то сну.
The dream.
Сон.
I shall get there
Я должен добраться
by
туда.
following that.
Вот это.
But actually, all you can be anyway, even if you're following a dream, is what you are. Because following a dream only brings you into dreamland.
Приведет нас только к страну снов.
When you are living now, you're living in dreamland.
Живя сейчас, вы живете в стране снов.
And the dream is over when you get there.
И сон кончится, когда вы достигнете того места.
You understand?
Понимаете?
You're dreaming yourself to there.
Вы как бы добираетесь до пункта назначения через сон.
Better everybody just lays down,
Когда будете все-
has anesthetic permanently pumped into his lungs,
И
and wakes up in Goloka Vrindavan.
каждому пристегнуто, и все просыпаются уже на голову Вриндавана.
It's easier.
Это легче. А наркоз. И всем наркоз дается, все очнутся на голову Вриндавана.
But actually,
Но на самом деле,
you have to be here,
вы должны быть здесь.
and ultimately, if you want to get there, you've got to go from here.
То вы должны прийти отсюда.
And to get anywhere, you have to be awake,
Вам нужно проснуться,
which means living now.
жить сейчас.
Not rejecting everything,
Отвергая все
but accepting the good in everything,
хорошее,
especially yourself.
самого себя.
Because what's the first thing we reject when we enter into the dream?
Отвергаем, когда мы входим в сон,
Ourselves.
себя.
Because we do not fit
Не
into the ideal of the dream.
подписываемся в этот идеал сна.
Therefore, we reject ourselves and follow the deified personality who personifies the dream.
Которая олицетворяет этот сон.
Understand?
Понимаете?
We forget ourselves, we reject ourselves. We don't care about
Мы
ourselves.
заботимся о себе.
We are just tools.
Мы просто инструменты.
I'll be a wrench, you can be the screwdriver, you can be the hammer.
Ты будешь вот этим отверткой, а ты будешь камерой.
And we are just surrendering ourselves to the deified personality who will use us in the dream,
Нас в этом сне.
and we will wake up.
Все очнемся.
And as we are leaving the material world,
И пока мы живем в
we will throw off our wrench and hammer personalities, and we will become
И когда мы будем покидать этот мир,
and we will become gopis.
и мы скинем себя в эти одежды, молотков и станем годными.
We've rejected ourselves completely,
Мы полностью себя отвергнем,
and we will
и
become
мы станем,
the epitome of the dream.
и мы
We will become the personification of the perfection of the dream.
станем как бы кульминацией этого сна. То есть, то есть,
It is something you can do.
это что-то, что вы можете сделать.
I'm not putting bad or good on it, but you make your own choice whether you think that's something you want to do or not.
Потому что вы просто можете сделать выбор, что вы хотите сделать.
If it's something you want to do, then go right ahead.
Если это то, что вы хотите сделать, то пожалуйста.
But a society based on a dream
Общество, основанное на сне,
constantly
постоянно
is disturbed by people slamming the doors while we're sleeping.
беспокоят люди, которые стучатся в дверь, пока вы спите.
Whereas
В то время как
a group of people who are just being the best they can,
группа людей, которые просто
And growing
наилучшего, сколько они могут,
according to their own qualities and characteristics, being helped by others who are fertilizing you accordingly,
которые как бы понимают,
who are trimming you accordingly,
которые как
just like a barber might or
бы ухаживают за вами,
a mother might feed or whatever.
парикмахер,
so that we can be growing now,
и мы растем прямо сейчас,
experiencing that love now,
ощущаем любовь прямо сейчас,
experiencing that appreciation amongst each other now,
оценку со стороны
and therefore going out the door and seeing the Lord's beauty out there too.
выходим за дверь и видим красоту Господа даже там, снаружи.
In other words, when you feel that love within,
Когда вы чувствуете эту любовь,
you feel the love with others,
чувствуете любовь,
you are growing as best you can
растете,
with a taste for the mode of goodness,
насколько можете, и у вас есть вкус к благости,
then you start seeing the perfection in creation.
и тогда вы начинаете видеть совершенство в творении.
And when you see the perfection in creation, you like being part of it.
И вам хочется быть частью.
That doesn't mean that if from Vaikuntha they came with a swan airplane, you'd say, no thanks.
Что когда вам придет корабль с Вайкунтха, скажет нет спасибо. Это нет, это
You'd go.
нет, вы пойдете туда.
But on your way to the swan airplane, you'd be filled with the same loving spirit and mood.
Идти к этому аэроплану, вы будете ощущать то же самое, то есть у вас будет то же самое настроение, исполненное любви.
What would you like to do better? Go on a journey
Отправиться в путешествие
in a bus in Calcutta over
по Калькутте,
at 45-degree heat
45 градусов жары,
while it's raining
и в то же время
and the windows don't work
и окна
and
не закрыты,
all the exhaust is coming in
и всё вам не
and they're
тепло,
playing bad cinema music
и там играют,
and everybody's smoking,
все курят,
but you're going to get to Mayapur.
но вам нужно доехать до Майапура.
Or
Или
you take a beautiful walk
вы отправляетесь на прекрасную прогулку
in the nature,
на природу,
you're feeling good about it,
и вам очень нравится это,
and you get to Mayapur.
и вы тоже добираетесь до Майапура.
Take your choice.
Выбирайте сами.
Therefore, the process of self-actualization, which actually we've talked almost all about here, and the process of developing society
Это развитие общества
means that
означает,
when you
что когда вы
are as good as you can be,
настолько хороши, насколько вы только можете,
then, and if you are with others who are as good as they can be,
и находитесь в обществе тех людей, которые тоже настолько,
you'll have a society as good as it can be
у вас получается общество, которое настолько хорошо, насколько только возможно.
if you all like the mode of goodness.
Если вам всем нравится гуна благости.
Because what's in the mode of goodness?
Потому что такое гуна благости?
Care about others,
Забота о других,
the desire not to exploit,
желание не эксплуатировать,
cheating, exploitation,
обман, эксплуатация,
using others,
использование других,
harming others in whatever way,
боль другим,
speaking badly,
говорить,
criticizing,
критиковать других, ругать,
backstabbing,
что-то сделать, препятствие за спиной.
this is all the mode of passion and ignorance.
Это все гуна благости, гуна страсти и невежества.
Yeah? If you like the mode of goodness,
Если вам нравится гуна благости,
if you have developed the taste for goodness,
если вы развили вкус благости,
then automatically the society will be in goodness.
само собой общество будет благостным.
Look, you can make 1,000,000 rules and regulations.
Вы можете сделать миллион правил и предписаний.
You should not,
Ты не должен,
smoke.
ты не должен
You should not drink. You should not take drugs.
принимать наркотики,
You should not speed.
ты не должен,
You should pay your taxes.
ты должен платить налоги.
Everybody knows what happens.
Все знают, что дальше произойдет.
You should not smoke. Okay,
Ты не должен курить. Ну хорошо.
they're gone now. No drinking.
Нельзя пить.
No speeding.
Нельзя превышать скорость.
The cop's gone?
Полицейский.
Yeah. And pay your taxes.
Платить налоги.
You know what I mean, don't you?
Вы знаете, что я имею в виду.
Each person's individual choice that makes things happen.
Это личный выбор каждого.
But,
Но.
when you're talking about society, of organization, of people and buildings and all that, you do need laws, sure.
Вам нужны законы, несомненно.
But this seminar was not about that kind of society.
Но этот семинар не посвящен такому типу общества.
This seminar was about a society of spiritual people. Therefore, it's different.
Поэтому это другое.
Okay, I talked for 2 hours,
Я говорю 2 часа.
and probably you're just waiting for me to stop so you can all get out of here.
Ждите, когда я остановлюсь.
But maybe I'd like to know if anything, because this was an experiment, right? Was there something good about what I said? Was there something bad about what I said?
Что-то хорошее в том, что я сказал, и что-нибудь плохое в том, что сказал.
If you could, if maybe somebody in the audience might be brave enough or to say what was they thought was good,
Кто-то хочет сказать,
what they thought was bad, then I'll learn
хорошего в этом семинаре,
what not to say.
чтобы я мог понять,
And if I'll feel appreciated and wanted,
что больше не говорить.
then I'll feel good.
Оценить то, что я говорю, тогда я буду чувствовать себя очень хорошо.
Sannyas, you say, because you're very objective.
Ты скажи, потому что ты очень объективен.
Huh?
Для меня это легче, потому что я уже слышал много.
What? Ask Ladini. She says.
Владимир, пусть скажет.
Я могу сказать, что это замечательно то, что вы говорили.
I
Вы
can
нас,
tell you this
нас,
is wonderful what that
вы нас
was
учите, как любить
You
самих
teach us
себя.
how to love ourselves.
Мы этого не умеем, не придавали значения.
We could not do this before. We did not appreciate.
А
Did not pay
теперь
attention.
мы
But
только
now,
должны начинать с того, чтобы научиться самих себя любить,
we
и
have to
любить
start
других,
to love
и любить
ourselves,
Бога,
to
и
love
любить детей,
others, to love
любить
the
всех
world,
живых
to love
существ.
children, to love all human beings.
So what was not good about it?
Что было плохого?
Ну, я плохого ничего не
No,
понимаю. Непонятно.
Huh?
She didn't saw anything bad.
No, I mean something that could have been better.
Ну, я имею в виду что-то, что могло быть лучше.
Про Гитлера мне там не
I
очень.
cannot understand about Hitler.
Потому что я знаю, что такое война. Я была, мне было 16 лет. Я знаю, что такое Хайль Гитлер. Это ужас.
I knew that Heil Hitler is very
Это ужас.
formidable thing.
С автоматами.
It's very...
Стреляют.
What I was explaining about was the people in Germany, especially those who were in that arena which they were filming, they bought completely into the dream of Hitler. He was presenting the perfect society, and they were all saying, we want to be part of that because we have blonde hair and blue eyes, yeah? We're Aryans, so we want to be part of that. So I was just using that as an example, yeah, of how, you can explain it to general, using it as an example of how people can be bewildered by buying into dreams. That was all.
Я просто использовал Гитлера как пример, что вот люди, которые слушали его там в нацистской Германии, они просто как бы они как бы ловились на этот крючок, что вот он говорил, вот мы все там арийцы, у нас голубые глаза, там белые волосы, и поэтому мы очень хорошие, и они все вот, как бы покупались на этот крючок. Я просто использовал это
Все
как
понятно.
пример для объяснения.
Окей, окей.
The most important thing that everything you say has complete sense, and therefore one can do is right. This is situation too, and will help you too, and this is very nice.
то, что вы говорили, то есть все, что вы говорили, имеет смысл.
Я сказал, что все, что он сказал, имеет здравый смысл и относится к человеку. Как вот я почувствовал, что он работает, поможет ему, поэтому...
Okay, what did I say that didn't make perfect sense?
А что из того, что сказал, не имеет такого, ну, как бы,
I hadn't noticed, but others say that the bad thing is that you are sitting very low and not many people cannot see you.
говорят,
Uh-huh.
что вот плохо то, что вы сидите на низком таком месте, и многие вас не видят просто со своих сидений.
It's just that if I sit up high again, then we got the same thing again, and I don't want to sit up high.
Если я сел выше, то опять мы то же самое получили, что и раньше, поэтому не хочется садиться на свой.
Actually, I should stand up,
Лучше всего я вообще бы стоял,
but the problem is my back would get
потому
hurt.
что у меня спина.
I should stand up.
Я мог бы.
Actually, the audience should go up.
На самом деле нужно поднять, наоборот, публику, то есть поднять сиденье в аудитории. Как
Does somebody out there want to say like something that I didn't explain good or you don't feel happy with? Is there something out there you don't feel happy with? Just ask me. Tell me. I don't mind. I want to hear it.
Вот кому что-то может не понравилось, что я плохо объяснил, или кто-то просто вот чем-то может быть недоволен, пожалуйста, скажите, я бы очень хотел услышать.
What you're not happy with? No, I want to know about what you're not happy with. You just wait.
Чем ты недоволен?
Yes.
Поэтому пока подожди.
Ну, я сначала скажу, что мне очень понятно все, что вы сказали.
I have to say that I understand everything that you said.
Что именно по этим принципам я живу сейчас, это уже реализовано.
It is exactly this principle that I am living now. I realize this principle already.
Я скажу то, что мне не понравилось.
But then I will say what I didn't like.
Мне не понравилось то, что вы сказали, что я
I didn't
должна
like
любить людей,
that I must
видя их
love people
абсолютно совершенными как Бога.
them like as perfect as Lord. I have to love others because they're as perfect as Lord.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. You shouldn't. Don't put the mic so close. It's true. What you're saying is true.
То, что вы говорите, это правильно.
It's funny, while I was saying that line,
Это смешно, но когда я говорил эту строку,
something in the back of my head said,
кто-то как бы позади меня сказал,
nah, I don't like the way that sounds.
нет, мне не нравится, как это сказал. Кто-то мне как бы прошептал.
Я хочу сказать, что я признаю саму себя несовершенной перед Богом, и я люблю себя несовершенной, и Господь любит меня несовершенной.
I accept myself as imperfect, and I love myself as imperfect. And the Lord also loved me as imperfect, not perfect.
И поэтому
And therefore,
я должна любить людей так же, принимая их несовершенными и помогая им стать совершенными и прогрессируя сама, становясь все более и более совершенными.
and therefore, I have to love others as imperfect, and I have to help them to become more perfect, and thus to progress. Прогрессируя таким образом,
Да, прогрессируя сама таким образом и помогая по мере возможности прогрессировать
and thus I will progress myself and help others to progress also.
Yeah, well, that's actually what I was saying.
Как раз то, что я и имел в виду.
I had been saying that mainly. It's just that,
Я не сказал это именно так.
because when I say accept yourself, yeah?
Я когда сказал принять себя,
If you're already perfect, then accepting yourself is no problem.
если вы уже совершенны, то принятие себя нет никакой проблемы в этом.
So there's no need to say that.
Поэтому нет никакой нужды говорить об этом.
And if others are already perfect,
А если другие,
there's no need to accept them and respect them and appreciate them because they're perfect. Naturally, you would do so.
то нет нужды как бы говорить, что нужно их принимать, и любить, и уважать, потому что если они совершенны, то вы уже естественным образом будете это делать.
So I assumed, maybe wrongly,
И поэтому я предполагал, может быть,
that it was obvious that since I was talking about acceptance and respect and all that, appreciation that we're talking about imperfection.
То когда я говорил об оценке, любви и уважении, то я как раз и имел в виду несовершенство.
But now I understand that I should have actually stated it because what you're saying is correct.
Что я должен был как бы явно об этом сказать, потому что то, что вы говорите, это правильно.
You know, it's a real problem when you're talking like this that you sometimes take something for granted in yourself that
Когда вы что-то такое говорите, то
the audience doesn't take for granted.
подразумеваете, что это как бы само собой разумеется, а вот аудитория, она не всегда как бы так же.
So
как и вы.
I thank you very much for bringing up this point
Поэтому я очень благодарен за то, что вы подняли этот вопрос.
because it was a mistake on my part in presentation.
Это была ошибка с моей стороны, в том, как я все
And
это представил.
I do agree completely with what you're saying.
И в том, с тем, что вы сказали, я согласен полностью.
But the point of seeing I didn't say perfection.
Но я не сказал совершенство,
I said the
я сказал
oneness, the
единство,
non-difference in quality
неотличие качества
with the Supreme.
с Высшим, Всевышним.
Because that has more meaning to me
Потому что
than perfection.
это имеет большее значение, чем совершенство.
Because when you start talking about perfection,
Когда вы начинаете говорить,
everybody's got a different idea what that means.
то у всех в голове совершенно разные идеи, что это слово обозначает.
And actually, in all this, what we might see as imperfection, there's also a perfection.
И кроме того, в том, что мы обычно называем несовершенством, тоже внутри содержится совершенство.
For example,
Например,
that which might be imperfect from one point of view in you might be the very thing which will bring you to so-called perfection.
потому что та вещь, которая может казаться несовершенной в вас, это может быть как раз оказаться именно тем ключиком, который приведет вас к совершенству.
Because it'll help you grow.
Потому что именно это помогает вам расти.
For example, a seed.
Например, семечко.
If you consider perfection is the plant which gives fruit, the seed is imperfect.
Если вы считаете совершенство, когда момент, когда растение приносит плод, то семечко, оно несовершенно.
In fact, every stage is imperfect until the plant gives fruit.
И на самом деле любая стадия между этими двумя точками будет несовершенной, кроме той стадии, когда уже само, когда созрел плод.
But that's the wrong way to look at it.
Но это неправильно так смотреть.
Therefore, talking perfection, imperfection, these are relativities.
Поэтому говорить о совершенстве и несовершенстве, это все относительно.
You should appreciate the seed.
Вы должны оценить семечко,
You should appreciate the grass that comes out.
вы должны оценить росток,
You should appreciate the plant.
оценить растение
And you appreciate the plant with the fruit.
и оценить также растение, приносящее плод.
The point is that
Суть в том, что
when you have to appreciate others,
когда вам нужно оценить других,
if it's somebody you love, it's easy to appreciate them despite their faults.
если это кто-то, кого вы уже любите, то очень легко оценить их, даже несмотря на их ошибки.
If it's somebody you don't love,
А если это кто-то, кого вы не любите,
if it's somebody who's giving you trouble or many people trouble,
если это кто-то, кто приносит много неприятностей вам,
it's very hard
и многим другим,
to appreciate them or
оценить это
love them.
и любить его.
Therefore,
Поэтому
I brought up that higher philosophical point
я
of everybody being
привлек этот высший
with the qualities of God.
термин, как бы, и это положение о том, что каждый обладает качествами Господа.
But as I was saying it, as I mentioned before, I didn't feel good about it.
Но в той формулировке, в которой я сказал, как я уже вот упомянул, когда я это сказал, я чувствовал, что я что-то не так сказал.
Because that's just philosophy.
Потому что это просто философия.
And really, hardly anybody lives by that.
И едва ли кто-либо живет в соответствии с ним.
A Paramahamsa will live by that.
Парамахамсы, они живут в соответствии с ним.
A Mahabhagavata, the greatest devotee,
Высшие, высочайшие преданные,
he will see perfection everywhere in the Lord's existence.
видят совершенство повсюду в творении Бога.
But we're not on that level
Но мы не на этом уровне.
yet.
Пока.
But
Но
I just said it.
я просто сказал это.
In the future, I'll try to avoid such
И в будущем я буду пытаться избегать
platitudes is one way to put it, or rather high theoretical things which are too theoretical for meaning much to us. goals which are
То есть это вещи, которые слишком теоретические и как бы
И трудно применимо в жизни.
и трудно применимы в жизни.
just like the love for a mother for a child. Child is doing breaking things,
Как, например,
spilling
мать
things,
ребенка. Ребенок, он ломает,
but the love is still flowing.
плачет, но любовь, она идет из него.
That is appreciation. That is respect. Respect for the fact that the child's body is not coordinated.
Она как бы
The child's
ценит тот факт, что он
value structure
неправильно.
is not yet complete
И она оценивает, как бы она понимает, что его
in the way an adult's would be.
ценности еще не сформированы.
And thus, one accepts that little bundle of so-called imperfection as a child. Just as the stream is flowing, the plant is growing, the child is growing, and the student is learning,
А ученик учится,
whoever that student may be.
кто бы ни был этот ученик.
That's what I meant by acceptance.
Вот что я имел в виду, когда говорю про принятие.
Thank you.
Спасибо.
Thank you very much.
Huh?
Specifically mentioned this oneness, qualitative oneness. You did it on purpose because every time everybody speaks about the difference, that's why you emphasize. And I think that it was good that you emphasized. Maybe somebody might-
Why don't you speak into the mic in Russian?
Вы специально как бы подчеркнули качественное единство души с Богом, в смысле человека с Богом, потому что постоянно подчеркивается различие, и из-за этого это все время используется как повод для того, чтобы себя принижать. И поскольку в нашем обществе в Испании это постоянно делалось, то как раз вы сознательно подчеркнули это для того, чтобы как бы исправить этот момент, потому что на это никто никогда как бы не обращал внимания, это всегда недооценивалось. То, что мы качественно, на самом деле, едины с Богом.
I don't know if I should go on much longer. What,
Я не знаю, стоит ли продолжать.
aren't you all tired out there or what?
Вы устали, наверное?
Come on, tell me the truth.
Скажите мне правду.
Вы устали.
Pravda, pravda. Da, da. Actually, we should have like some drinks out there. Everybody takes a drink or some break, you know, and then. But I can't go on much longer. It's already 9:45.
Выйти там, сделать вечер, попить напитки, но я не могу.
But anyway, you know, tomorrow we're going to talk about this self-actualization theme.
Мы будем говорить о самоактуализации.
Practically, I already did that.
И практически я уже поговорил,
But
рассказал.
there's a lot more to develop,
Но есть еще много, о чем, что нужно развивать.
and there are a lot more questions to answer.
Много конфликтов, много тем.
And you know, I had a wild idea, and maybe we could discuss it here, how to do that tomorrow.
Одна дикая идея, и я хотел бы, может быть, мы обсудим это.
I was thinking we bring down a table here,
Я думал, вот нам нужно сюда принести стол.
yeah? And I will kind of give a lecture,
И я буду как бы давать лекцию,
and we'll have like,
и у нас будет
you know, Kamala and Sannyas
команда,
and
Саньясы,
Upendra,
Пендра,
and maybe some others who speak English sitting around this table.
еще кто говорит по-английски,
Камала Мала.
Камала Мала.
And we'll kind of like, after I give this lecture,
И после того, как я дам эту лекцию,
they will ask me
они
questions.
будут задавать мне вопросы.
And then we'll kind of develop
И мы будем развивать
a theme
эту тему.
which would be more, I think, relevant to you.
И я думаю, что это будет как бы более подходить к вашим нуждам, запросам, более
Because
подходить для вас.
we've been speaking like this for quite some time.
Потому что мы уже довольно долго это говорили как раз вот таким образом.
And I think when we video it, it'll be a lot better.
Я думаю, если мы снимем это на видео, то будет гораздо лучше.
And not only that, but it's a lot more fun for me.
И не только поэтому, а еще и потому, что это гораздо веселее для меня.
And we'll have some ice cream here that we eat.
Мороженое здесь стоит.
some of those wonderful cakes. And that way I'll be more inspired, you know. What do you think? I thought of this morning. I thought this would be a really different way to. But actually it would be like on TV, you know? In the TV studio they always have this, no? The ice cream, you like that? Okay. It's a deal. We're going to do it. Wouldn't that be, Kamala Mala, where are you? Would that be a good idea? Then you could have microphones on the table. We could have commercials. Commercials. You know, like on TV, where they come in, they advertise things, you know. You know, we could sit there, you know, the commercials would be on, you know, blah, blah, blah. Then the red light goes on. Okay, oh. We could have a lot of fun. Do you like that? You like that? Yeah?
There should be a quick way of translator because
Yeah, we should, yeah. But it's tough for all you guys. None of you can do it like. It's very, very difficult to translate what I'm saying, you know. And also I use words sometimes which are not common. We need a really... We tried professionals, they're not better. You know? I asked sannyas, try to hire... How many you interviewed? 2, 3. Altogether 3. They weren't better than Sudadani. It's just tough for me because, you know, I can develop many, many more themes when it's all in English, you know? Then I can develop themes very, very quickly. When I have to wait like this, then it's much slower.
tomorrow little people from outside they will come. How they will treat? We just sit together.
No. We will sit together and we will explain to them. We will have the cameras there, yeah, and we'll explain to them that they are part of a TV show, you know, and they'll feel even better. And we'll take the audience like this, you know. The audience can clap. At the end, we can go in the audience with a microphone, you know. Kamala Mala, he'll go in the audience with microphone and he'll talk to people, you know. Just like TV. And then we get to eat. And it's also better too because then the questions and the interaction will be much more, I think, deep. And it will be on topics which will be very, I think, important. Okay, you can do that? You're always good with them. You can do that? You think about it too also. Yeah. You can also. When are we going to do the music thing here? What are you going to do?
To play some small jazz improvisation on your thing. On that thing that you play in France. In the same mood, in the same.
What thing?
She will play in the same melody as you play. Just.
When did I play?
I have some records that you played in France.
That you made? Uh-huh. Oh, she'll do it 10 times better. When is that going to happen? When is that going to happen? The thing starts at 6, 7 tomorrow? When does it start? Tomorrow. 7. Why don't we do it? How long does it take?
There will be not only this one composition, there will be something else. Some classic.
Do you want to do it for like a lot of people or just a couple of people?
Вы хотите, чтобы это было для многих людей или только для пары человек присутствует?
How about at 6? But you know, an hour is if it's going to be a little tough to listen for an hour and then have to talk for 2 hours or 3 hours. Maybe you could make it a little smaller?
But maybe next week, because they have to...
Oh, they haven't practiced yet? Ah, I see. Then how about we leave Friday? And I'm talking not on Thursday. I'm talking Thursday? Was Tuesday and Wednesday was those 2 things, yeah? I don't know. There was 2 things. I forgot now. We were going to do 2 things. We do it Thursday. Okay? No, Wednesday something?
We're talking about the cushion. It was during the daytime, but in the evening we can do.
Wednesday? What does she want? Wednesday or Thursday? Just tell her to decide something. She has to figure it out. Wednesday or Thursday? I think Thursday would be good because we're leaving on Friday. Then we get a nice thing. What instrument to play? You're going to bring the big piano down here? It's on the same floor? Ah, yeah, it's right over there. But then I can also play something. Then we can do like that. We can play a little music on Thursday night.
Thursday,
Музыка всегда воодушевляет, облагораживает.
Or you could bring the piano here tomorrow for 7 o'clock, and then I'll start off by just playing something for a couple of minutes. Won't be so good, but it'll just be something. I'll play in the key of Z flat.
if we start at 6:30 without being late, we will be okay.
What?
We start this playing
6:30?
6:30 without being late. Like
But the people will come at 7.
but it's anyway for devotees.
No.
For everybody.
What do you mean?
Then we can start at 7.
Yeah,
But without being like just.
I'll try. Okay. Highball.
Дорогие друзья, я хотел сказать несколько слов о видео и аудиозаписи, которые мы здесь сделали. Прежде всего, для того, чтобы провести вот эти семинары, потребовалось достаточно большие вложения.
Big piano down here.
Большое пианино вы повесите. Да.
It's on the same floor? Ah, yeah, it's right over there. But then I can also play something.
Так я тоже смогу там что-то сыграть, да?
Then we can do like that. We can play a little music on Thursday night.
Да, тогда мы можем в среду вечером поиграть немножко.
Thursday.
Четверг вечером. Четверг.
Можно и в среду, в четверг.
Ну, такой голос, Thursday.
Музыка всегда воодушевляет, облагораживает.
Or you could bring the piano here tomorrow for 7 o'clock, and then I'll start off by just playing something for a couple of minutes. Won't be so good, but it'll just be something. I'll play in the key of Z flat.
If you start at 6:30 without being late, it will be okay.
What?
You start this playing
6:30?
6:30 without being late. Like,
But the people will come at 7.
but it's anyway for devotees.
No.
For everybody.
What do you mean?
Then we can start at 7.
Yeah,
But without being like just.
I'll try. Okay. Highball.
Дорогие друзья, я хотел сказать несколько слов о видео и аудиозаписи, которые мы здесь сделали. Прежде всего, для того, чтобы провести вот эти семинары, потребовалось достаточно большие